And this is a topic that often we just assume people know about, but when I have discussions like with Gavin on the products, and then I find myself in the field, I realize that we assume a lot, but we don't necessarily make sure that this is how people understand it. So for tonight, I just want to do a quick introduction session, and then we're going to open the floor again to see if you agree or you have other ideas of how you would like this process to go forward. Now, understand that in this whole take on of new members, in the first online training, we already mentioned the CFI products. That's part of the course there. And then when we do the wealth coach interview, there's another chance to take people through the products. And that's actually where we should help them to map the journey of the family in front of us with the availability of the products with their real life situation. So just to highlight what I see in terms of the products, we've got 3 products. 2 of them for me are like they drive the action, and assuming that most of the people who start their gig journey started from the position of struggle, and the block below represents then to what we all envisage to do, and that's to build our generational wealth fund. And in that fund would then be all different asset classes with different income streams coming from those assets. But what drives it? So a lot of people have nothing in their wealth fund when they start. Now, the 2 products that we have, and one of them is probably more explained than the rest, is the Loanlink Share, and we make quite a big issue of it. And the Loanlink Share has a specific purpose. It's an interest-free loan product, and you have 2 kinds of gearing. The one is where you can borrow up to 3 times against your own deposit, and then furthermore, after your first year of being a member, future loans can be repaid over longer periods of up to 7 years. And we often quote the example that you can eventually buy property, and where the repayment on the 7 years would be the same as if you would bond it with a bank over 20 years. But what I mean by specific purpose, when you sit with a new person, and even if you haven't done it for you and your family yet, the purpose of this product is to pay off pay off debt, so high interest-bearing debt, and replace it with zero interest debts. And then also start planning the purchase of big-ticket items like a car, a house, or even an expansion of the business, and ultimately property. And in future, nothing stops you to also use this instrument to, together or alone, invest in businesses and other opportunities. Then the one that I want to spend a little bit more time on tonight, because oftentimes people are just putting their money in the Loanlink Share with no plan or purpose. And then after a year, they say, but I'm not earning any money. Why is this happening? And then they're almost angry with GIG to take their money and not giving them interest. And it's because the wealth coach did not do his work up front to explain to them the 2 uses of the fund. So see the Loanlink Share as almost your micro family bank within the safety of a bigger bank, GIG. And it's a private fund where you decide over how much funding you would want to have available for certain purchases. But then there's another fund, and I want to just put the word war chest for that fund. It's the 32-day call account. And it's a fund that's available to every person who joined GIG, but you have to specifically just write the email to back office and ask them to open up a 32-day account for you. And the interest that you can earn on your money while it's there, it's above market rates for where banks would give you some interest on some of your money. This is way above that. Now, I call it the war chest because the sources of it must come from wealth seeds, and I'd like the wealth coaches to become more focused on taking people through what are wealth seeds, and the wealth seeds comes out of your consumables, and by all means help the people to see the value of switching their habits. And then risk mitigation. Now, the obvious place is where people already have insurance, life, short-term, or medical, but risk mitigation also says, what if you don't currently have short-term or life cover or medical aid? You still need to start putting some money towards it. Now, in this case, it comes out of your pocket. I call it almost conscious savings, but get used to put some money aside to say, let me build my war chest, and it accumulates, and then also add a component for conscious savings towards big ticket items. And this is now available to you. Should there be a crisis, you can dip into that account with a 32-day notice by email to back office. There's no further cost to it. You don't pay admin fees on this whole thing. So it's very valuable to have both the Loanlink Share and the 32-day call account. Now, let's just quickly run through what I consider assets that should be in your generational fund. Now, the obvious one is if you have money and you're not sure yet where to invest it, a safe place to invest it is in GIG's 6 months, 12-month, or 24-month fixed deposit account, which means you come with a lump sum. At the time of you coming to GIG, we get a quote on that money, and we buy retail government bonds with that money. And then at that rate that we quote you, 6, 12, or 24 months later, you will have your capital back plus the growth that was part of the quote. And this is, I wouldn't necessarily say you must have all your money in here, but if you are still unsure what to do with your money and you don't need it for quick access, put it in there. Now, what makes us unique in GIG, because we also control all the other accounts, if there's ever a crisis, and let's say your money is now stuck for 24 months, and you didn't foresee the crisis, but then all of a sudden you need to replace your car, or there's a health crisis, you have access to GIG to come for an interest-bearing loan. I'm not sure what is the current. You'll have to go to our gig.coop site to see what is it, the cost of that interest. But then you can make a loan and borrow against your fixed savings one-to-one. So there is a facility to access your money while it's still earning interest for you for the next 6, 12, or 24 months. So just keep that in mind. But ultimately, you need to start building up your portfolio. Now, some of you may already have, over the years, built up assets with investments through your financial service advisor in unit trusts or direct playing on the stocks. And by all means, go ahead with that if you're happy. Otherwise, speak to our financial services site to just get another quote and see maybe if there's a better return on investment. But ultimately, you should have some of this in your portfolio. In time to come, you should have your own company, but you could also have shares in multiple companies. And these are under your personal control, and only invest in companies that you understand and that you can add value to. And maybe, Gavin, you can come in here at a later stage and just share some of your own involvement in other companies. And then own property portfolio. Some of you already have property, and some even more than one property. And ultimately, everybody would like to have a property or more than one property, because it's very transferable to future generations. But one thing, and I've had a discussion with Jason last week, that becoming more and more important in this absolute uncertain climate is put some of your money in actual silver and actual gold. And I'm not shares, but actual physical gold or silver. And then through Jason and some of the other people in GIG, they've rented a vault, which is safe. And there's a way for you to store your actual silver or gold and it's not, you won't have a growth necessarily, although in the current uncertain times, gold has gone up, silver has gone up. But you know what's interesting? If you have physical gold, and let's say the fiat currency, so our rand is also fiat currency. Fiat means there's nothing that really backs it. It's built on trust. If fiat currency fall anywhere in the world, and it has happened quite a few times in the history of man, then almost every time the economy was restarted or kick-started, where people went back to a trusted, inherent value, and it was normally gold and silver. Now, with gold, the leverage they then used to then create fiat currency, you could literally with the ratio is something like 1 ounce of gold that today will cost you about 22,000 Rand, could kickstart an economy, and in that kickstarted economy, you could build up fiat currency of 800,000 based on the value of an actual gold coin of 22,000. So just bear it in mind for your own future reference, that you have at least a couple of gold coins going forward. And then where we're going with GIG, and just before we started, and when I say GIG, it's a separate Category 2 company, but we will then, in conjunction with GIG, the bank, the GIG Movement Institute, and the Chamber of Commerce Institute, we will start looking at property as a fund. And way back we spoke about, imagine if we could have a property fund where you save your money, and depending on how much money we have available in the fund, there would be people out there looking for property, and we would then have 4 property classes, like rental property below 500,000, rental property above 500,000, commercial property as a third class, and then specialist property that would be raw land development to finished product, as well as overseas property. And imagine you being able to participate in any one or all 4 of these classes with a facility where you can buy 1,000 Rand share into one of these classes, and with an exit strategy if you need it. All right, and then we also have, with the Chamber of Commerce, we have access to very good business projects. And even though you yourself don't necessarily feel qualified to be a business person, with the due diligence we'll do, you would be able to eventually then participate in other people's businesses through equity. And as a group, we will then buy equity in these funds. And we have discussed it in the past. We just need the numbers before we can get there. But one of the very exciting future prospects would then be self-insurance. So this is by no means the final picture, but this is just to try and tell you how the various, so there are 3 products for every GIG member, the Loanlink Share. You choose how much you want to put in there, and you can gear up. The 32-day call account, where you can get fixed interest per month while the money is there, but you have access to it within 32 days and no further admin fee. And all of that towards starting to build up your own generational fund.